together, let's praise our Lord. Scripture tells us how all of nature sings your praises. But Lord, you come here today. Your presence is with us, and you rejoice in the worship that we give you as we lift our voices in praise. You like that. Whether we're on key or off key, it doesn't matter to you. Lord, I thank you for the amazing love that shows and the way that you are here with us today. Lord, I praise you for that. Amen. Just one quick announcement for this week, and that's the BOA will be meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So if you're on the BOA, please be here for that. Our scripture lesson today is from the book of Mark. And it tells us, Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," the man answered. "It is often throwing him into the fire or the water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." "If you can," said Jesus, "everything is possible for him who believes." And I know I've mentioned it many times. This is where the guy becomes one of my heroes. Immediately the father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." that you bought, that you were willing to give your life on the cross so that each of us could be saved and we could be forgiven and we could be on our way to heaven. And Lord, I praise you for that. I thank you for the way that you work in our lives. I thank you for the amazing love that you showed on the cross and that you show to us each and every day as you bless us, as you guide us, as you're with us in the hard times. Lord, I praise you for that. Lord, I do want to lift up those who are hurting. And Lord, you know their needs. And we especially lift up Ron Olds to you as he's going to be having open heart surgery tomorrow. Lord, I just pray that you will be with him and that things will go smoothly. The procedure will be a great success. Lord, I just pray that you will be with him. And for Cindy and for Missy and for the rest of his family, I just pray that you will continue to give them your peace. And Lord, we thank you that we can come before you, we can lay our problems out to you, and that you are always there, and that you always care, and you respond to our needs. And Lord, I praise you for that today. Amen. What's God been doing in your life? What would you like to share today? And if you wondered why we don't do this as often, this is why. Yes, Kathy.
I praise God for the fact that I'm here today. I have family. I was procedure done a week ago Thursday, and I just couldn't get my sleep back. But here I stand today. We're not a walker or anything else. Praise God for it.
Amen. Amen.
I have been praising the Lord since about, I can't remember the time the rain started, but I'm so thankful that He has put His hand out and given us new rain.
Amen. All right. Thank you. You know, if you've been watching the news, the Palace of Auburn Hills was demolished this week. The Palace was the Pistons' home court for almost 30 years, and it's kind of sad to see, the old monuments going down. And I'm pretty sure there are some here who were bothered when Michigan and Trumbull, when that was closed. And it's sad to see some of those old landmarks go. But I am assuming, never having been there myself, I'm assuming the Pistons' new court has more of the things that they need for today. Because that is the advantage when you have to build or rebuild. You can start to meet the needs that you have today. Like if it happens in a personal home, you could be going for years and years about, we just don't have enough cupboard space in the kitchen. Don't have enough cupboard space. I don't know where I'm going to put this, And then if you have to rebuild, you can have cupboard space. That's the advantage of having to build or rebuild. You can fit it to meet your needs, the current needs. It's no fun, the building or rebuilding, but that does give us an opportunity. And in the book of Nehemiah, we're talking about when they rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem. And I am sure that the folks there would have preferred that simply the walls hadn't been knocked down in the first place, that they'd been able to just leave things as they were, but that was not an option. They had to rebuild. And when they did, they actually built smaller than before. The scholars tell us Nehemiah's city walls were smaller than had existed before. And some of us would go, oh, they're losing ground, they're retreating. Not really. They had a much smaller population. They didn't have enough people to fill up the city that they had as was. And so if they had built way out like Solomon had, it would have been kind of like sometimes when we get the big house when the kids are home, we get this huge thing, and then later it's just the two, and it's like, what do we do with all the space? That's kind of the situation they would have had in Jerusalem. So they fit it to meet their needs. Their city was smaller, their nation was smaller. They didn't meet near the size of the capital. And so they fit it to meet their needs. What they were facing today, that they built the walls the way that they needed. Now, some of us, a few of us guys are part of a Cures group. We meet on Tuesday nights, and if you're interested, please let me know for some, we can get you some details on that. But a few weeks ago, one of the guys, not from our church, he brought the devotional, and he brought it on Nehemiah. And it was, he was talking about some of the things in Nehemiah, and he said, so, what's the application for us today? What are we supposed to learn from Nehemiah for today? And I appreciated something Dave said. It stuck in my head. He said, sorry, I just saw the look. He was going, what in the world did I say? He said that Nehemiah is very applicable for all of us today because every church after COVID is going to have to rebuild. Now, that's true. Our church is doing pretty well right now. God has blessed us in many, many ways. That's very true. But things have definitely changed. Just before COVID hit, granted, that was during the school year. That's different than the summer normally. But we had things going almost every day of the week. Different ministries going. Things were busy. We are now down to Sunday morning services and 2 Bible studies during the week. And for the Sunday morning service, we have purposely started 2 services, split the services to keep attendance smaller in church. I mean, that is something I never thought I would do. Purposely try to keep attendance small. And part of the problem is, we've done that too well. When we add the 2 services together, we're still running about 25% lower than what we were before COVID. And we know a lot of the reasons why that's happening, but that's simply the way it is. And so we are down in attendance, we are down in ministries, but we do have to rebuild. Now, I don't think we're going to change the physical structure. At least I don't foresee any need, don't worry, Danny, I don't foresee any need in the near future at all to be changing the physical structure. But what are we going to build our church on? What are the ideas, what are the ministries that we are going to build on? Kind of the foundation for going forward. I mean, we can't just focus on rebuilding exactly what we had before. We could be focused or focus on just building exactly what we want. All the music to exactly fit our taste, the time, the service, the styles, the ministries all to fit exactly what we want. And we do want to meet the needs of the people that are here, obviously. But are we also going to focus on reaching the people that do not yet know Jesus Christ? One of the walls I want our church to build, one of the supporting walls, I really want to see us focus on is children's ministries. And that's just because there's such a need in, I'd say, our community, but it's all over, because it's the same at every place we've ever been. But when we're meeting with the kids on Wednesday at Kids Jam and Thursday on Higher Ground, so many of those kids that we are working with come from, to put it mildly, challenging home situations. where it's a big enough challenge for them. Sometimes you see the wheels spinning when you ask how many brothers and sisters they have. You know, fill out the form when you come. You know, how many brothers and sisters? And they have to really think about it. Because the home situation, it's kind of a revolving door. And the parents and the partners and the siblings are constantly changing. And who's your brother this week? Well, it's whoever is living in the house, you know, this time. And it changes. And it is tough for those kids. There's no real stability. And what I want to see our church to be, I want it to be a place of stability, a place where they need Christian adults who will love them and show them what it is to live a Christian life in a non-Christian world, in a turbulent world that is constantly changing. I want them to find here, at least, stability and love. I want them to find a place where they are taught to work toward goals, to work, you know, and to plan for the future. And it may seem a bit idealistic or a bit too big of an idea, but all I want to do, just this little thing, I want to break the kids from their generational cycles of dysfunction and poverty. That's all I want to do. That's all I think we can do. As we introduce them to Jesus Christ, and then see the amazing change that Jesus can bring in their lives. And that sounds like an awful lot to do. Historically, we can do it. We've done it before. The Methodist Church, when it began, focused on the poor, the outcasts, the dysfunctional of the time. I mean, we talk about how culture has gone downhill, and we can always, I can always make a sermon about, you know, how bad things are these days. Society has really gone downhill. Society has always been messed up, at least some parts of it. And the Methodist Church focused originally on the poor, the outcast, the dysfunctional groups and peoples. And they brought them to Jesus and then taught them how to live according to God's laws. And there's just this amazing correlation. It's a coincidence that you just won't believe. But when people actually follow God's laws, it helps their lives. And you can look back at the history proves it. As these people started to follow God's laws, it brought healing into their lives. It brought physical healing, it brought relational healing, it brought emotional healing, it brought economic healing. And just as God did it through the church back then, I want Him to be able to do it again today. And I appreciate how our church has been supporting that ministry already. Our kids' jam, our youth programs, they are well funded. And even if you're not actively involved in those, you're helping fund them, and that's appreciated. And the way you guys support our kids going to youth camps, that just still continues to amaze me. Your generosity. There's always more that we can do. As we reach out to try to bring those kids back on Sunday morning, as we try to bring their families in and change the dynamics, and just a simple thing of change their lives through the power of Jesus Christ. That's something we can build the church on. That's one of the walls that will hold things together. Another one of the walls I want to build with small groups. And don't worry, I won't spend as much time on this one. But when we come together on Sunday morning, that's good. We come, we get to know each other, we become acquainted, we become friends, you know. But it's in the small groups, it's in the times that we meet outside of the church building that we have close fellowship. That's when we build the relationships that will really last. That's when we get to know each other and we go from just being people that attend the same church to being church family. And those are the relationships that impact our lives. Those are the people that we turn to when we're hurting and when we need help. And we know we can call on them. And small groups is just one of the walls I want us to build to make sure that it's strengthened. That's just part of the way that we can move forward. And I know there are other things that we need to do and that we are doing, and that is good. But those are a couple that really stand out to me. And what also stands out to me is when Nehemiah was rebuilding the wall, one of the key things is they did it together. Each one did their part. Nehemiah chapter 3 tells us about who built different sections of the wall. They did not hire a contractor. When they had the job of rebuilding the city walls, any smart person would have told them, well, we best get somebody that knows what they're doing on that. And hire in the contractor, and they can hire the subcontractors and all that sort of thing. They didn't do that. Instead, they said, we need to build the walls. And Junior spoke up and he goes, I can build that section over there, And Jeff spoke up and I can get that over there. And they just each did their part. And it intrigues me. Nehemiah 3 tells us that many of them did the repair sections right by their own home. 3:23 through 28 says, Benjamin and Hashab made repairs in front of their house. And next to them, Azariah made repairs next to his house. And many of them are listed the same way. It says they did the repairs by their house. And that makes sense. That's where you see it the most. That's where you want the best defense. I mean, if your kids are sleeping on the other side of the wall, you want that wall to be solid so no one can break in. So they built where they had the passion. And then others came in and they helped with the building as well. If we are doing God's will, other people from other Christians will come in because they will want to be involved where God is at work. And Nehemiah tells us that the men of Tekoa repaired a section. It says, but their nobles wouldn't put their shoulder to the work under their supervisors. Now, Tekoa was a town about 11 miles away. And they sent people in to work on the Capitol. It'd be a little bit like folks from Reed City coming in and helping build the wall. But it was their capital, so it made sense, that they came to help. But people from other areas came in and joined in because this is what God was doing, and this was a great work, and they wanted to be a part of it. And they each did their part. And it intrigues me that Nehemiah does mention their nobles wouldn't put their shoulder to the work. And it just makes it sound to me like Nehemiah saying those guys were too big for their britches. They thought they were too powerful or too important to actually get down and get their hands dirty. And so he put that little note in there. I do wonder if these nobles had known that 2,400 years later, we'd still be reading that they were too big for their britches, if it would have changed their behavior, But Nehemiah was saying that each one did their work. And we even find in verse 12 that it says Shallum repaired a section with the help of his daughters. And that doesn't seem that unusual today, but back in that day that was radical because he had the ladies out there doing manual labor. And it's just showing that each person did their part. I mean, if it had been the kids, they'd be doing the little cleanup song, right? Clean up, everybody, clean up, everybody do their share. Okay, am I the only one that knows that one? I really want to know for the next service because it crashed and burned this one a little last time. I don't think I'll be repeating that part. I see that hand. It threw me off. But when we each do our part, then God brought it together. And if we want to rebuild our church, and not just rebuild it, but expand it, the old song, Hold the Fort, for I am coming. I used to enjoy singing that song. That song has terrible theology. We are not supposed to hold the fort. Hold the fort, we are supposed to build the kingdom. And I don't want to just rebuild what we've had. This is a good time to expand the kingdom. So as we rebuild, as we expand the ministry that God has for us, it's going to take each one of us doing our part. The couple things that I mentioned today, a couple walls that we could build, those are primarily Christian-ed things, But that doesn't give us the excuse to just kick back and go, well, okay, we'll let Christian-ed take care of that, then we're done. No. If we want to rebuild, it's going to take each one of us doing our part because God brings certain people into each of our lives, people that we can reach for Him and for the kingdom. And we need to reach out to them and invite them to service with us, invite them to worship with us, invite them to do ministry with us. And as we do that, we will be not only rebuilding the church, we will be expanding the church, and we will be building God's kingdom. So which section of wall is God pointing you toward today? Let's stand together for prayer. Lord, I do thank you for the way that you work in our lives. Lord, even in the times of rebuilding, you give us opportunity. Lord, we certainly would have preferred to avoid the COVID issue. That would be our preference, but that's not what happened. But Lord, as we start the rebuilding process from that, Lord, I just pray that you will give us your guidance, your direction. Lord, I pray that you will help us to come back stronger than what we were before, that we can be the people that you want us to be, to reach out to those who desperately need you. And Lord, I pray that you will help each of us to do our part as we build this wall, as we build your church together. We ask this in your name. Amen.